The Innovators Network.
Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Hello, and welcome to this week's show. How is your week going? I'm actually digging out of snow here in Colorado. Winter is upon us. So, one of the things that I've been looking at most recently is, why do innovations fail? I've been coaching and advising a couple of different startups and companies, usually after the fact that they've tried something and it didn't work. And so I've been kind of collecting this list of what are the reasons why organizations fail. Why do their innovation efforts not become successful? So I sat down and I came up with a very, very long list, a much longer list than we would ever be able to cover on this show. So what I've done is I've whittled that list down, and I'm answering the question, why innovation fails, and what are the top 10 causes? What are the top 10? Not the 50 that I could come up with. I could probably come up with 100. But we're going to focus on just the top 10. Top 10 causes for why innovations fail. And you're going to want to make sure you listen to all of them, because some of them you can control, some of them you cannot control, but you need to be aware of them and you need to be prepared. And by thinking about them ahead of time, you will be in a much better position than your competition at having innovation success. So, before we jump into this week's episode, got that favor to ask: can you follow, like, and share? Follow us on social media. You can just search for me, or you can search for the show, or you can search for the Innovators Network, distributor of the show. So find the social media that's easiest for you, that you want to stay connected to. I'm probably the most active on my own accounts. So you just search for Phil McKinney, no spaces, all one word, and I'll typically pop up on all the social media platforms. So follow us. Like today's show. Give us a thumbs up wherever you are listening to this show at. Give us a positive feedback. Give us a review wherever you're listening to the show. We do appreciate that. And help spread the word. Help let other people know. If there's people that you know with today's content that you think would find that helpful and beneficial, help them out. Give them a helping hand around their innovation efforts by sharing the show with them. And with that, let's hop into this week's episode.
This episode is sponsored by Zoom. With Zoom, you can streamline your communication, collaboration, and creativity all in one place. Zoom is the market-leading platform that provides video meetings, voice, webinars, and chat across desktops, phones, tablets, and conference room systems. To learn more about Zoom and sign up for your free account, visit killerinnovations.com/Zoom.
Innovation is essential for businesses to stay ahead of the competition. However, many businesses find their innovations fail, often at great expense and following significant effort. Now, what really surprises me is they seem surprised, like they were expecting the success, and they're frustrated by their failed innovation efforts. So what causes these innovation efforts to fail? What is behind them? When you are in control, you can address the problem of your innovation efforts. You can come up with more ideas. You can execute better. However, some causes of innovation failures are not under your control. Many believe they have more control than they really have. The false sense of control that you have over innovation can cause you to be overly optimistic about success. You may think your idea will be a success just because it's new and it's never been done before. This fallacy of the best idea wins. But there are plenty of other considerations to take into account. For example, if your idea relies on an unexpected funding source or backing from influential people, then you've already set yourself up for failure. You become aware of the limits of your control when you realize how much the odds are stacked against you. My advice? Prepare for those challenges ahead of time. Thus, we are going to talk today about the 10 most common cause for innovations to fail. The 10 most common. Now, I could have come up with a list of 100. I've boiled it down to the 10 most common that I have seen over my career. Now, to increase the chance of innovation success, you need to address these most common causes of failure. So again, we're going to cover the 10 in today's episode. Number 1, the lack of problem identification. Now, I recently addressed this in a recent episode and have also written about it over on my blog. This is a big challenge for a lot of organizations. Now, often innovators are just so excited about this new idea they have that they don't take the time to identify the problem they're trying to solve. This can lead to a lot of wasted time and effort just trying to develop a solution for a problem that most likely does not exist. It's important to understand the problem you're trying to solve before you develop any solutions. In my workshops, I preach the philosophy that you need to create the problem statement up front. Before any ideation, before any brainstorming, you must identify the problem statement and get buy-in from the participants, from the people that you're trying to have impact to. Define that problem statement. These are hard to write. You have to work at it. But this lack of problem identification, huge when it comes to one of the key causes for why innovations fail. Number 2, the lack of ideation or the inability to generate good ideas. Now, you would think this would not be one of the causes. It is. Lack of ideation is the significant reason for the failure in any process, and the inability to come up with good ideas is a close second. Not only do you have to be able to ideate, you have to be able to ideate good ideas. A recent study by IBM revealed that 78% of executives believe their organizations cannot find enough new creative innovations. Think about that. 78% of executives believe their organizations cannot find enough new and creative innovations. If you can't discover fresh ideas in your organization, where are you going to get them from? Where are you going to expect to find them? To have a large number of excellent ideas, an organization must master creative and critical thinking skills. You must unleash the creativity of your team, that natural human ingenuity. You have to find a way to get that released. You have to give permission to your organization to think creatively, not to filter, not to use assumptions of what will ever get approved or the challenges within your organization. Give them permission to go out there and create. And then critical thinking skills. How do you do good decision making? How do you get out of the rut? How do you apply thinking around ideas so that you can support their success, not find ways to kill them? Number 3, poor execution of an idea. Now, this one may sound a little obvious. When you're not able to execute an idea successfully, no one's ever going to know about it. Ideas written in a notebook that never get executed successfully die in the notebook. I literally have tens and tens of Tupperware containers of notebooks. All of my idea notebooks going back into my 20s. And all of those ideas are going to die. They're never going to see the light of day. Now, maybe after I'm gone, my grandkids will dig through it and maybe they'll find something that's interesting or whatever. But right now, if I don't execute on them, they're dead. They're sitting there in that notebook and no one's ever going to know that they even existed. execution matters. It may not be glamorous or exciting. It's fun to come up with the ideas. It is hard and frustrating to execute the ideas. But it's the most important thing that happens once you have the idea. This key word is execution. Ideas without execution is a hobby. And I don't know about you, but I am not in the hobby business. As my father was fond of saying, if you can't do something right, then don't do it at all. But you have to do it. You have to get in there and try. You have to make it real. Number 4, lack of funding or support. Now, unfortunately, many innovations will get canceled because of a lack of funds. You need funds. You need dollars, time, and people. 3 key resources to get an idea down the path of innovation. Now, this lack of funding can occur at any point in the process. It can occur right in the beginning. You can start working on an innovation and run out of funds. You can get all the way to the end and you need a big amount of money to launch it, and you can't find that. Funding occurs in many places. It's not just an upfront decision point. Now, what's the reason behind the funding constraint? Why is it so hard? Well, one reason for this is that companies refuse to build their budgets for innovation. They refuse to structure their budgets. They find themselves mid-year or later in the second half of a budget cycle year with no money left over. All the money's been allocated. It's been deployed to all, the product teams or marketing or sales or whatever. And there's no money left over when there's a need for something new or a new idea pops up and you really want to get started on it. Now, another reason why this can be challenging is financial recessions. You can't control the economy, whether it's sudden inflation or the 2007, 2008 recession we all went through. Now, in the case of a recession, if you're selling products to consumers or even to businesses, they have less money to spend, causing many companies that you're trying to innovate to lose money on sales or even to shut down altogether. Now, this has resulted in a decrease of investment in innovation efforts. People are playing it conservative. Now, this innovation effort, though, is critical for generating new products and new services. And in fact, if you go back and you look at the history of innovation and you look at companies that continued to invest successfully during economic downturns, who committed every year to having a budget structured in support of innovation, when the economy took a hit, their competitors would pull back and be conservative. Those that continued their innovation effort came out heads and shoulders ahead of anybody else. Companies that did that included the Walt Disney Company, it included Hewlett-Packard, it included a large number of companies. If you go back and you look at their R&D spend and sustained R&D spend over time. So, you need to work in organizations. You need to help your organization leadership understand this and build budgets and continue to invest in innovation, even through uncertain times. Number 5, a lack of a clear roadmap or a plan. Without a plan, it's difficult, if not impossible, to stay focused and motivated when challenges and roadblocks will inevitably arise. You're going to run into roadblocks. You are going to run into frustrations. Additionally, it can be more difficult to get others on board with whatever your idea is if they don't understand where it's headed or the execution plan. If you can't show them a plan, you're not going to gain that support and that endorsement. An innovation roadmap is critical for 2 reasons. First, it provides a framework for guiding your team's efforts. It's what sets the pace, it sets the goal line for your team. And second, it helps you test and validate your idea. It helps reduce the risk of failure. If you've got a plan, Put those gates in there. Put those tests in there so that you can test that idea as you're moving down the plan. Having a rational plan does make it much easier to get the support. Not a crazy plan, a plan that requires magic to happen. A rational plan makes it much easier to get the support from others. And number 6, implementation challenges. Now, implementation challenges can include anything from problems with the technology, it's hard, doesn't work, it's a lot harder than you think, to the resistance from employees. They can be extremely costly. Implementation challenges are hard to fix, and they can often lead to the failure of the innovation. The best way to reduce the risk of implementation challenges is to do as much testing as possible. Test it on a small scale and identify any potential problems that could arise. Find people who will just try to break it. Offer incentives for people to come in early and test that innovation and provide feedback. Find people who are going to be blunt, who aren't going to play nice, who are going to try to break whatever it is you are creating. And whatever you do, make sure you are not counting on everything to go as planned, or that your innovation will simply sell itself. Now, in my own experience, I had one particular innovation that just speaks to this one, and that is the invention of ThumbScan, which was a fingerprint biometric device. It was designed for commercial, but ended up being much more popular in government agencies, certain 3-letter agencies, like the CIA and NSA and others. Now, I was brought in. The invention had already been theoretically developed by 2 individuals affiliated with the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. They were trying to actually take an idea off of a napkin and build it into a product, and was having a significant amount of challenges. And I was brought in when I had my own little, I don't know what you want to call it, innovation commercialization consulting practice out in Silicon Valley. I was still in the Valley at that time. And they had prototype hardware. They sent me the prototype hardware. And this thing was extremely fragile, would never work in a commercial offering. And quite frankly, it didn't work. It did not work. We ended up completely redesigning it, completely redeveloping the technology, and completely redeveloping the algorithms to do the fingerprint identification and such. And the product went on to great success, but this was an implementation challenge where people got so in love with the original idea that they did not do proper testing. They did not plan for the possible use cases and scenarios of this kinds of technology. And it struggled until we were brought in and we had to go through a complete redesign effort. Now, the innovation did not fail, but it lost a lot of money and a lot of time in that the redesign phase of that idea. So again, implementation challenges, painful. You're going to run into them. The key is find it early. Don't find it late. Find those things early, whether it's testing out a new process or you're coming up with a new dish for your restaurant, or you're going to offer a new service in your oil change business. Whatever innovation effort you have underway, test early. Implementation challenges can kill you because it'll force you to run out of time and run out of money. Number 7, cultural barriers. Cultural barriers. Cultural barriers can prevent an organization from successfully implementing the new ideas. Why? I've talked about culture many times in the past. Culture is critical. It is so critical, and I am always amazed at how few organizations spend any time thinking about their innovation culture. Now, these cultural barriers, they can exist at an individual, somebody, down in an organization. It could be a team. It could be at an entire, organizational level. These cultural barriers result from a lack of trust, a fear of change, resistance to new ideas. All of that may cause you to be, or someone to resist putting out a new idea or trying an innovation effort. Now, the result of all this is that innovations may not be adopted, or more likely, they may be adopted, but they may not be implemented in a way that does not meet the original intent. People will tend to flip-flop. They want to put it here, someone resists, so they wedge it in someplace else into the organization, and ultimately it fails. And people never remember that history around the shifts and changes that occurs. So an example of a positive culture that actually helped innovation would be online retailer Zappos. Now, Zappos is today now part of Amazon. When it was an independent company, the company's core values for Zappos was humility, passion, customer service, excellence, fun, and innovation. They encouraged team members to be themselves and make decisions based on their intuition. There was no rule book. There was no need to run up. You had to get your manager approval to give a customer a $20 refund because of a delayed shipment or something. Every team member could make those decisions. It did not require. That is around building that level of trust. And team members are never treated as employees, but as unique individuals who live out core values of the company. At Zappos, they hire for the match of the culture. They'll teach the person everything else they need to know, but they hire to the culture. And that's what I would encourage every organization to do. Hire to the culture. Now you add this all together, and this is the reason Zappos has been so successful in creating innovations that disrupted their industry. An industry that is pretty kind of, large. It's all about volume manufacturing, reducing your cost of materials, supply chain. And then Zappos found ways to innovate and actually take a leadership role in their industry. Number 8, naysayers, or as I sometimes refer to them as innovation antibodies. Naysayers are the people who refuse to accept change or even consider it. There are naysayers in every organization. They have a variety of reasons for being against any new idea. These include the fear of change and, to the extreme, a concern that they will lose their job if the company implements something new. Oh my gosh, a robot's going to come into the warehouse. I'm going to lose my job. Versus, you're not going to lose your job. You're now going to be 3 times more productive, and you're going to help the organization grow, make more margin, and they can pay you a higher salary. Nobody ever thinks along the long-term implications of these kinds of changes. It's an immediate knee-jerk reaction. Now, the challenges of these naysayers is they can stop an innovation in its tracks. Inside of a typical organization, 99.5% of the people think they all have the permission to be able to say no. And that only a few people, all the way up to the CEO, can say yes. So it's much easier to be playing defense. No, we don't want that idea because it's too expensive. No, we can't do that idea because it's financial risk. No, we can't do that idea because, it'll screw up our supply chain. No, we can't do, no is the most common answer. Like I said, 99.5% of people within an organization will leverage this opportunity because they believe they're empowered to say no, because that's protection. I'm protecting the organization from any kind of risk. Now, the consequences of these naysayers is that they will discourage others from trying anything. Once a couple of ideas get killed by the naysayers, nobody is going to step out. Nobody is even going to try. Now, naysayers can be hard to spot. They might express their opinions in subtle ways, such as, not speaking up during a brainstorming session or never volunteering to try an innovative idea. Now, if naysayers get their way, then nothing will change. Naysayers are not always employees either. They can be managers. They can even be clients and customers, or just about anyone associated with the company, supply chain, service companies that service you. It can be anybody. The simple fact is, if everyone is a naysayer, then nothing ever changes. Innovation fails because people are afraid to change and do not want to try something new. So, big issue for a lot of organizations. Number 9, poor timing. Poor timing can be because of several factors. Now remember, what do I mean by poor timing? The difference between a good idea and a great idea is rarely the idea. The difference is the timing, getting the timing right, introducing that product at just the right time, being able to get to the positioning to where you can bring that out when the market is most ready. Now, there's lots of factors that can impact or cause poor timing. This includes a change in the market, or there's a refresh of technology, and therefore the timing is delayed. A shift in customer needs or preference, or even a change in the political regulatory landscape. Whatever the reason, if an innovation is launched at the wrong time, it is likely to fail. The best way to get the timing right is to be in a position where you can respond quickly when the opportunities are right. When the timing hits just perfectly, the need is there, you've got everything, you're ready, and you are able to execute quickly and get it into the market at just that right time. This means, in order to get that right, this means having a team who are aware of the customer needs and are able to make quick decisions to stay ahead of the competition, to get that new thing into the market when the customers are ready to buy. The other key ingredient of getting the timing right is luck, quite honestly. Finding an opportunity that others don't see or seizing an advantage before it's too late. This is luck. Now, you won't find many companies that will admit its share of lucky breaks over the years, but companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, any of the companies out that I've been affiliated with or worked with over my years in the Valley is 95% of their success is not because they have better technology. It is because of luck. And number 10, customer disinterest. If a customers are not interested in what you are offering, they won't buy it, no matter how great the innovation may be. Now, this can be because the innovation is not addressing an actual need or a problem. We talked about that earlier. Could be just too costly. If it was a $20 solution, yeah, customers would buy it. At $200, they're not going to buy it. Or it's simply unattractive. Yes, unattractive. I've learned over the years how important it is to get the design right. And probably I need to do a new show on design. I did one, probably a decade ago. But we probably need to talk about design again. Design is absolutely critical. And you don't do design at the end. You don't develop it and then put it at the end. That's putting lipstick on a pig. Attractiveness has this kind of an impact. So again, this disinterest from the customer can be that you're not solving a problem. It could be too costly. It could be just, it's simply not attractive. It's not a well-designed product. It is important to understand your target market and what they are looking for in order to create that innovation that they want to buy. You got to understand what they want. To be successful, an innovation must offer something that is beneficial to customers, such as improved performance, lower cost, better quality, whatever it is. Otherwise, you will suffer from this disinterest from the customer base. So quickly, let's go back through all 10 of the most common cause for innovation to fail. Number 1, lack of problem identification. Number 2, lack of ideation or the inability to generate ideas. Number 3, poor execution of the idea. Number 4, lack of funding or support. Number 5, lack of a clear roadmap or a plan. And number 6, implementation challenges. Number 7, cultural barriers, both at the individual, team, and organization level. And number 8, naysayers, or as I like to refer to them as, innovation antibodies. Number 9, poor timing. And number 10, customer disinterest. Now, there are many causes that result in innovations to fail. These are just 10. I could list 100. I probably listed 25 and narrowed them down to this 10. Now, remember, some causes are under your control, while others are not. It's important to understand the most common causes and which ones you can control. Then you can be better prepared to address those causes and increase your chances of success. Now, warning, if you desire to create game-changing innovations, if this is the game you want to play, you want to come in and become a leading, recognized innovator, be prepared. You will experience struggles and you will experience failures. Now, when asked about his failed experiments, Thomas Edison once said, "I've not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that my other ideas won't work." Don't let those struggles and those failures stop you. Keep trying until you find something that works. Remember, Edison didn't succeed every time, but he kept trying until he found what he was looking for. So don't give up. Keep working on your innovation until you make it a success. So which of the 10 causes have you run into over your career? Look, we've all had failures. I've got more than my fair share. In fact, I recently was talking with somebody and I shared with them, I said, once you've gone through failure and it's been a really painful failure, you learn. You will do anything in your power to avoid it. So which of these 10 have you experienced? Which of the 10 have you run into? And what did you learn from it? What was it that kind of opened your eyes and made you better prepared when it came around for that next innovation effort that you were going to try? As I shared in the main segment, the one that just sticks in my mind in a big way is number 6, the implementation challenges. In my experience with helping out, I wasn't the trigger of the cause. I was on the back end with a huge amount of pressure to fix an innovation project that was about ready to get flushed. And we turned it around. We got that innovation fixed. We got that product ramped up. And eventually, the venture capitalist who was backing it recruited me to become part of the management team. So I actually shut down my consulting practice in Silicon Valley, moved back to Chicago, which is where I grew up, and I became part of the management team at ThumbScan. So, but that one, every time I think about it, man, my stomach churns. Long nights, 7 days a week, 16-hour days, trying to catch the falling knife, as they say. So we've all had them. We've all had the failures. We've all had those experiences. If you're up to it, share. Put them in the comments at the show notes over at killerinnovations.com. Pop over to the innovators.community if you want to share it with the broader innovation community. you can post it over there. So check it out there. But I'd love to hear about it and hear what your lessons learned. And by sharing those experiences, it helps all of us as a community to learn from each one of our own experiences and the things that can help us achieve success with maybe just a touch less pain. So as we wrap up this week's episode, thank you for your time. Really do appreciate you committing to listening to the show and participating. So thank you very much. Time is the most valuable asset. I know I don't have enough of it. It's not something you can put on the shelf. You have to make every minute count, and you've chosen to prioritize this show, and I do greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Again, with this show we're coming up soon at March 1st for starting of season 18. We started the show in 2005. We've averaged about 50 new episodes each year. And yes, we're starting our 18th year. I've got listeners who are younger than the age of the podcast, and that makes me feel old. Been doing this for a very long time, and in fact, we are the longest continuously produced podcast in history. I guess I win the Endurance Award. So again, we are always looking for finding new people, new subscribers that could benefit from the content we produce. So one, help us spread the word, put the word out there, share it. Thank you very much. And number two, the content, the ideas for the content come from you, come from your questions, your needs, things that you are wondering, questions that are running around your head. And don't worry, it's not like I'm going to call you out. So feel free, even if you want to send me a question that's just confidential, that you need, you want some advice on. Willing to do that as long as the volume doesn't go crazy. Try to be as helpful as possible. So you can send it to me over at phil@killerinnovations.com, or you can find me over on social media, whether that's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can post your comments over there. So again, phil@killerinnovations.com, or find me over on whichever social media platform is your preference. So with that, thanks again for listening to this week's show. Looking to hear from you. Greatly appreciate your time. Have a great week, and go out there and achieve some innovation success, and go out there and change the world. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.
This show is distributed by the Innovators Network. For more information and other great shows and content, visit theinnovators.network.